seeing a lot of changes in 2016. We're in the midst of a presidential election, American Idol's entering its last season, and scientists have discovered clear gravitational wave signals. 2016 is a year of change and growth for the entire world, but there's a lot of important changes happening here at home as well.
As of March 1st, to comply with new AWPA and ICC standards, UC4A ground contact from Everwood will now address a number of applications, some of which are physically above ground, including components that are difficult to maintain, repair, and/or replace, and are critical to performance and safety of the entire structure.
So what does all this mean? Well, basically it means that just because you're using lumber that isn't touching the ground doesn't mean it's always okay to use above ground treated wood. Here are examples of when you should use ground contact.
First, let's talk about what it means to be ground contact. UC4A ground contact is treated to 0.14 pounds per cubic feet. So to put that in perspective, above ground treated wood is treated to 0.05 pounds per cubic feet. So ground contact is almost 3 times as strong. And it needs to be strong to fight off environmental contaminants in constant contact with things like dirt, soil, water, and sand. These elements all hold contaminants such as bacteria and fungus that will cause rot in lesser treated wood, like above ground contact. So when should you use ground contact treated lumber? If the material is on or in the ground. If the material is 6 inches or less above the ground. If it's used in fresh water or is frequently wetted. If air circulation is restricted. If debris is likely to collect near it or under it. If it's in contact with untreated or older wood that shows sign of decay. If the material is being used in a tropic or subtropical environment. Basically, the new way of looking at treated lumber kind of goes like this. If it's going to be outside, it's probably best to use ground contact or higher.
Okay, so now we're off to a strong start, but ground contact material by itself isn't going to be enough. You still have to make sure that you use the proper in-cut solution and the proper fasteners, but for the time being, we're going to focus on the in-cut solution.
Anytime a piece of lumber is cut, you need to apply an in-cut solution to the cut end. Proper in-cut solution contains either 0.675 oxide copper, 1% copper naphthenate, or 2% zinc naphthenate. You're probably asking, why do I need to coat the ends of treated lumber? Well, let's take a look at this piece of lumber. If you look at the center, that's what's called the heartwood. Now, the heartwood can't be penetrated by the treatment process. That's true of all treated wood with any company. So when you make that cut end, you're exposing a piece of lumber that hasn't been treated. So when the heartwood's exposed, it becomes a gateway to all the contaminants that are going to cause rot. The in-cut solution, though not as effective as the treatment process itself, will help create a barrier to protect that heartwood.
Alright, so now we have the right treated lumber and the right in-cut solution, but there's still one thing that can cause you problems, and that's using the wrong fasteners.
If you're building a project within 5 miles of saltwater, you need to use 403 or 316 stainless steel fasteners. There are other fasteners that you can use outside of this range that are going to be hot dip galvanized, and they'll be fine, but when it comes down to it, stainless steel is good in any condition. So the recommendation is if you're going to be building something outside, the strongest fastener you can use is going to be stainless steel. If you don't use the correct fasteners, then it's going to corrode and destroy the wood from the inside out.
So why the big push to ground contact? Well, it simply comes down to misapplication of treated lumber. The industry noticed that most of the failures that were happening in building projects like decks or freshwater docks were the result of misapplication. Not using the right lumber, not using in-cut solution, not using the right fasteners. So this is a reaction to the industry's concern for the customer's safety. So we hope by increasing the availability and convenience of ground contact treated lumber in stores that we can not only keep our customers safe, but they're going to be happy with a product that's going to last a long time.
We couldn't possibly go over everything today in the short time that we had. But if you're on YouTube, look below and we have links set up to going to all the sites. If you're in our training session, we'll make sure that you have this before you leave.